welcome back. We've got another episode of the How's Your Ground Game podcast. Damoon here visiting me. Joining me via satellite is Birdman down in Vero Beach. I gotta get that intro dialed in.
I know we gotta work on that. That's okay.
I'm freezing my butt off up here, and I imagine it's like 70, 80 down there.
I'm not wearing pants, and I'm outside.
Is that a normal thing, or is that just a summer thing?
That's a year-round thing for me.
That's a year-round thing. Yes.
It used to be no pants Friday in Brooklyn. Now it's no pants all the time.
That's fair enough.
But I think it's like 76, 77 degrees out there. A nice, cool ocean breeze coming in.
We had a minute where it was up in the 70s, but this morning I think it was a cool 33.
Yeah. We don't get the cool 33s here.
No. How's you guys had some the special Birdman Wash and Fold clinic? How'd that go?
The deep dive clinic, it went very well, and I think you'd be proud of me because I made up a little schedule. Like I made handouts for everybody.
Nice.
Printed them out, had the 4 topics and the 3, I guess, things I was talking about in each topic. And each topic was an hour. So it was a 4-hour seminar, which some of the guys said they wished it was longer.
What were some of the topics?
Let me tell you what we didn't go over.
Okay.
We didn't do any submissions. We didn't do any guard passing. We didn't do any sweeps. And we didn't do any escapes.
Every blue belt just left the room.
Fuck 'em. But those are the things they're chasing, and those are the things they don't need. I went over grips, body position, the relationship between Ginastica Natural and Jiu-Jitsu, and how we can use, like in the 4th hour.
Like our own movements.
What's that?
Like our own movements.
Our own movements, yeah. So I taught 4 different movements over the course of the day. Okay? And I put those 4 movements together to make a side control advancement to knee in the hole to mount using just those 4 motions. So how I did it was the things I took longer to explain things in the beginning than I did at the end. So at the end, I explained this to go from side control to knee in the hole, like very solidly, by explaining it once and not even showing it. And everybody, all the white belts got it.
They already had the ingredients from everything.
They had everything in their head. They already learned it without knowing they learned it. And as soon as we put them together, I did it. And then there was a girl who was, her and her husband were in from, the other side of the state. She'd been training for a couple months. I said, explain to me what we just did. And she ran right through it.
That's awesome.
Right? And people who were very experienced were like, yeah, we never thought that, we know how to get from point A to point B, but we didn't know that it was like a recognized series of mechanisms that can do that.
It's almost in jiu-jitsu, we learn backwards. We learn the recipe, but we never learn anything about the ingredients.
Right.
We never learn, hey, like if you have these ingredients in your kitchen, what can you cook? As opposed to, no, these are the recipes you make, right?
Yeah. Well, do I always have to use, granulated bleached sugar when I make cookies? Can I use coconut sugar?
Right.
Can I use agave syrup?
Yeah. What happens if you don't have vegetable oil? Can you substitute it for something else? What can you substitute it for?
I don't have baking powder. Will baking soda work?
Right.
Yeah, it'll work. It'll be different, but when you understand what that ingredient does in it.
Right.
Right? So we know the sugar makes the cookie sweet. Suppose you don't like your cookies that sweet. Yeah. Can you cut the sugar in half? Right? Because you know what component makes it sweet.
Yeah.
Right? You just don't like the way it's sweet. right? It tastes fake this sweet. Okay, let's try something else. Let's put agave nectar, or let's put coconut sugar, or hey, let me try brown sugar, like light brown sugar instead of granulated white sugar, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, if we understand the mechanisms, and then maybe there's one point of that whole technique that, yeah, my body just doesn't do this. So will you be better off constantly drilling that whole series of 4 mechanisms, or should you focus on just that one mechanism that your body can't do?
Right, fix
And
the
try to catch that up to everything else.
exactly, yeah.
So we came across some kind of interesting points on this. Sorry, I'm letting the cats in. Hey, little mama. 8 cats. We got 8 cats now.
The whole litter, literally.
Yeah. A mama, 5 babies, and 2 other cats. Crazy. But everyone's doing well, cats included.
Good. Good
So
to
yes,
hear.
that was the clinic. I had it kind of written out, and then I took pretty extensive notes on, like, on the fly. I'm like, okay, this is too early for them to understand this, so I kind of moved something to the end, and I cut 1 or 2 things out. Like they're just not going to get this right now. So I don't want to confuse everything else we've had success with. So I have the next one scheduled for June 7th.
First Saturday of June, right?
First Saturday of June.
Nice.
And then the first Saturday of July, which is July 5th. So if anybody is traveling on the holiday weekend and they want to come down,
Birdman's Washington. How much? It's
we'll
4
show
hours.
them. We'll show them what's that.
And if they want to sign up or get more info, they can reach out to either of us on Instagram or the website. It's on the YouTube.
Yeah, reach out on Instagram, and yeah, we'll get it going. I'll let you know what it is. Yeah, there's just a fee for the clinic. Like I said, it's 4 hours long. Now, someone there asked if we could do a 24-hour clinic. 24 hours straight.
Just live, eat, breathe, jiu-jitsu.
So I said, yeah, I can stay up for 24 hours. I could teach jiu-jitsu for 24 hours straight. And another student of mine says, hey, we can have Lovebird Chicken cater it, bring their food truck to the parking lot.
Who is Lovebird Chicken?
I went there 2 weeks ago.
I saw the pictures. I didn't get the story.
It's a cat that Jonathan grew up with in Lakeland, Florida. They have 2, I think, Orlando Winter Park area, and then in Lakeland proper, Florida. It's Lovebird's Almost Famous Chicken, AFC, not KFC, AFC.
Okay.
I'm telling you, the best chicken I've ever had in my life. Like
fried chicken?
It's Nashville hot chicken.
Ooh, yeah.
But I mean, I'm not a fan of Nashville hot chicken because I don't know, it's overdone. So when you order the chicken, you can order sandwiches or whatever. I got 2 chicken strips. Okay. And the chicken strips are like, I was like, I might be able to eat 1. It's so big. And there's 4 or 5 different levels of heat, starting from like this Carolina, nothing almost, to I got a medium, I think it was. And it was just barely a little bit of heat on it, which is perfect. Because some of that Nashville hot is just lathered.
They go hot. They go really hot, really fast.
It's hot, but it's just inundated in it. So you got heat and no chicken.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So this was just enough where I could really appreciate the chicken. And they had this mustard dipping sauce that was so good. And then I got a Gouda mac and cheese.
Okay.
It was Gouda with smoked paprika breadcrumbs on top for the crust. Damoon, you would have.
I wouldn't have left.
You wouldn't have left. And it was like, and they have Dr. Pepper.
Like civilized people.
Civilized people. So I got out of there with 2 containers, small containers. I only ate 1. I took the other one home of the mac and cheese, and 2 chicken breasts, big.
Wow.
Tenders for $15 and a Dr. Pepper.
That's amazing.
It's cheap, right?
And they have a food truck?
I think, Jonathan, they have a food truck or they cater or they do something.
Got it.
So if we did like maybe, let's say an 8-hour seminar, like something realistic, not a 24-hour,
And
right?
have them show up in the middle for the break.
Yeah. So it's going to be roughly 6 hours of instruction, right? In the middle, the food truck comes in, everybody has lunch for like an hour, hour 15.
Yeah,
Like that would be the best, right?
absolutely.
I could see you out there in your gi, jacket open, grease dripping off your elbows because you got a bucket of fried chicken or something. You'd be in heaven, wouldn't you?
I have managed to not get any grease stains on my gi, on any of my gis up till now.
You aren't trying hard enough, my friend.
It's true. I generally remove my gi before I fully gorge myself.
Yeah. But I just think that people would appreciate, like, a lot of jiu-jitsu and just, hey, we're going to bust it open for a little bit and we're going to have chicken in the parking lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right? That's a day. That's a day
Yeah.
of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And as it is now, if people come in for the Saturday clinic, there's also a Friday night no-gi and a Sunday open mat.
Friday night no-gi.
They can join also.
Yeah. Friday night no-gi, Sunday night open mat, which is whatever you got. So if you're traveling, you can pretty much bring one gi.
Right.
And your no-gi could be a bathing suit because I guarantee you will be in the water.
That's
right.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So you could travel pretty light and get this done.
On that note, the topic of the day we want to discuss.
Nice segue.
I know. Is the advantages of gi versus no gi, of why we train. What do you get from training this way? What do you get from training that way? What's some of the pitfalls of training, just one or something like that? And just on that note, the obvious first thing that most people come across is the nice thing about no gi is less laundry.
Okay. Now, I remember I told you I had a question.
Yes.
Is no gi, do you think that's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Do I think that's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yes. Do you think no gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is an accurate term? Or would you say no gi grappling? Or just grappling?
It's like submission grappling, right?
Submission grappling is a better term for it.
I would say that it's less Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and it's more submission grappling. I think there's a lot of things you can do in no-gi that aren't necessarily derivative of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, while in the gi it doesn't work the exact same way. Like, to give an example is catch wrestling is a thing, right?
Yes.
A lot of the submissions in catch wrestling don't transfer to the gi very well. Just because the control is different.
Yes.
So, a lot of leg lock entries, right? A lot of that stuff doesn't translate into the gi very well because of the friction. You can't get into the positions the same way. It's too easy to hold someone, their upper body and not let them invert or something like that.
Yeah.
So the skill set, the techniques that come across, it becomes its own thing. There's obviously some crossover, but it's...
Now, what do you think about schools that give out belts when they only teach no-gi?
Why not just train in the gi? If you're going to get rid of the gi, why do you still hold on to the belt?
Why do you still have the belts?
Why do you still have the belts?
Now, I got questions.
Yes.
You've got white belts and blue belts who are going to be competing.
Yes.
Would you urge them to compete in gi or no gi?
If they only had to pick one?
Yes. Well, the one that's best, what field of competition is best suited for them as a beginner or intermediate?
I think gi, but I always push them to compete in both just to get the most bang for their buck because they're already getting ready. But if it was just down to one, it's gi for sure.
Here's my theory on it. Is anyone honest when they fill out the application for the no-gi? And follow-up question. How many sandbaggers do we have in gi tournaments?
It's a lot less in gi tournaments. Well,
right?
I would say
there really is none.
I would say it depends on the tournament. If you're going to like IBJJF, I think there's definitely people who hold the coach won't give a promotion on purpose.
Yes.
But in terms of having like a guy who like, you know, grew up in Dagestan coming in as a white belt, you don't have it as much. No.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day, it was years of grappling experience, right?
Yeah.
And some say, well, I've been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 3 months. Yeah, but you were a D1 wrestler for 4 years and you're a high school wrestler for 4 years. So right there, that's 8 years of grappling experience.
Right.
Because they think that grappling is no-gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They don't consider wrestling grappling. You know, people don't consider judo grappling, right? When we get to the tournament.
Right. It's not. I haven't been doing jujitsu.
Yes, they just think of jiu-jitsu as the grappling.
Yeah. Oh,
So I always found that no-gi tournaments, I would tell people, unless you're going to enter the advanced, don't enter. Because anyone else is going to be lying.
I would also say it's harder to sandbag. I mean, unless you're literally a jujitsu expert that's sandbagging as a lower belt. But in terms of coming in from a different art, it's really difficult to sandbag because you might be a D1 wrestler, but you go in as a blue belt in jujitsu. It's a very different.
You talking no-gi?
I'm talking about in the gi. In no gi, sandbagging is more prevalent because it also you can get away with it. Meaning,
Yeah.
a D1 wrestler can go in and be an amateur in no gi, and he can mop the floor.
Yeah, all you do is take you down for the 2 points and stall.
Correct, but
right
in the gi, if he was to try the same thing in the gi, it's less prevalent because once you have the gi on, if you don't know how to deal with the gi, right?
Yeah,
you really are like a white belt or a blue belt anyway.
You're screwed.
You're
screwed. If you don't understand grips and collars, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, many times the fabric we wear is the great equalizer, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I just think if you take the two schools of thought that I always noticed when I competed that no gi, everybody was a liar. Everybody. Right? And in the gi, it just seemed to be the brackets were a more level playing field. Right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you know these guys are blue belts because they're here with the coach, and if they went and weren't a white belt, their coach wouldn't especially back then, their coach wouldn't, allow that shit to happen.
Yeah.
Right? And very infrequently was it just some random guy that showed up from somewhere else and downgraded his belt. Like that was not a real big thing. It probably happened, but it wasn't really a big thing. And now who knows? With the is he going to want to put on a social media, a brown belt going to want to put in a social media that he just won a blue belt tournament on the other side of the country? I don't know. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, we got that out of the way. Now we can talk about gi versus no gi.
Okay. Well, let's just start with what we've already been discussing, right? If you're entering into when you're training, we just talked about how the gi is the great equalizer, right? So a lot of our students are coming in and they're late 30s, early 40s, some even in their 50s, right? If you're an older student, I don't know, older, some people might take offense to that, but if you're coming in late 30s, early 40s, the gi is like John just mentioned, is the great equalizer. You're going to be rolling with people that are half your age, twice your size, twice as strong. You can slow them down in the gi.
Absolutely.
If you're smaller, if it gives you a little bit more of a handle, it gives you, more chance to survive.
You have a greater ability to slow the game down too.
Absolutely. Whereas no-gi, I know a lot of people are very attracted to no-gi off the bat, but if you're not...
It's become a different culture to me as well.
It definitely has.
Like, it's separating itself from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi, like, I feel, tremendously.
Yes, and it's diverging again. I think originally it was like a very, eclectic Eddie Bravo 10th Planet crowd.
Yeah.
But I think now there's like a very wrestler heavy no-gi scene evolving as well. You know,
Well,
guys who just want to roll hard and
I think a lot of it is people don't want to put the time in to figure out the gi and the grips, right? And they have their own language, and just the uniforms, right? We used to just take our gi jacket off. That was no gi, t-shirt and gi pants. Now some people won't do no gi unless they have their exact spats, the proper shorts, their rash guard, their tape, their ankle braces, all that nonsense of the uniform in order to properly roll, right?
sure.
You know, I know somebody who has a school and he switched one night from gi to no gi, and he said he had 2 or 3 guys that just left because they didn't. He's like, just take your jacket off and we're going to go through. No. I need my spats and these shorts and I wear different rash guard. These guys were like, no, I'm just not going to stay for class because I don't have my no gi kit with me. You know, and that's what I wear when I do no gi. And to me, that's just the most ridiculous thing ever. So fashion is more important than knowledge, right?
Totally.
You don't want to learn anything new. You don't want to get better today because you don't have the clothes you want to wear on.
You got to get your fancy show roll on, John.
So no matter if I'm wearing gi pants and a t-shirt or a rash guard and, you know, shorts, do you think either one of those uniforms prevents me from learning something?
No.
No.
But you don't look as cool.
Does that matter? Does that win fights?
Apparently, for some people,
does that make you better?
We're here for the post-class Instagram photo.
Okay, yeah. So we could say that some people who train no gi are quite delusional. And I'm not talking about flat earthers. I'm talking about, you know, the fashionistas who have to have that exact kit on to train no gi. They can't just show up like, hey, man, I've seen Renzo teach classes in jeans and a t-shirt.
Right.
Right? Everybody's seen him on the floor demonstrating something in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. Is it any less informative?
No.
Is the technique, are you less able to understand the technique as what he's wearing?
No.
Right? So people get caught up in maybe the wrong things.
For sure. Why do you think no gi lends itself to that a little bit more?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I think these people watch too much TV. I think they watch a lot of fights on TV, and they kind of dress similar as they can to the guys in these fights. We see the pictures where the after class photo, the shirt's always off. Right? Right?
Yep.
The rash guard, the shirt's off, and they're doing this in the no-gi class. Why are you making fists in a no-gi class, a grappling class? Why? Wow. Because you watch too much TV. You watch these fighters, and you know what? You want to be that guy? Have the stones to train like that guy, and then have the stones to lock yourself in a cage with another person
and throw hands.
And put it all out on the line. Right?
Yeah.
Then you can hold your hands up. But until then, when you're coordinating your rash guard and your finger tape, right? leave the potatoes in the air to the other guys and leave your shirt on. And focus more on learning jiu-jitsu. Because I think a lot of what I've seen over the past 27, 28 years is no gi is more about strength. Gi is more about technique. I'm just going to say it.
Athleticism.
Strength.
You think specifically strength?
Strength. Yeah. Athleticism goes along with it, but strength is a much bigger part of it.
In no-gi.
In no-gi, yes.
Yeah. So why do we train no-gi? I like to. Oh, I wouldn't say I split my time between the two, but I have a healthy amount of no gi in my diet. I have my thoughts on why I like training no gi, but I just
Well,
want to hear yours.
why did I train him years back? Because everybody fought,
You
right?
fought,
I fought. So when you fight, you have to have. You can't go in there with just gi knowledge and fight, right? So no gi years ago, like I always told you guys, is more of I would consider like when I never had no gi classes. I had Valley Tudo classes,
right?
right? It was Valley Tudo grappling, okay, which is different than no gi jiu-jitsu, right? The way it was, I taught it and the way we
Yeah,
were trained.
yeah.
Yeah. So that to like everybody, here's the argument, and I've had this conversation with people. Why don't you teach more no gi? Why should I? Because it's more realistical in a fight scene. And what's my response? Do you get into a lot of fights at the beach? Right? You're fighting a guy with essentially a bathing suit and a rash guard on. You're fighting a surfer at the beach when you're no gi.
I would say
Am I
New
wrong?
Yorkers probably don't
Am I
get into the
wrong?
fight at the
What's
beach
that?
very often.
Yeah. So am I wrong about that?
No,
No. So I get into a fight on the subway today. Is the guy wearing long pants?
most probably yes.
Is the guy wearing a jacket?
Probably yes.
Is the guy wearing maybe a hoodie?
Totally.
Totally. Something I can grab onto, right?
There's clothes you can grab. Yes.
There's friction. There's all that. Okay. So you're telling me that fighting somebody in a bathing suit and a rash guard is more realistic than fighting a guy in a gi. Is it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think it's people want to not put in the work, right? To learn in the gi,
The mental work.
the mental work, the
The gi is
physical, the
hard.
reps.
The
Gi
gi
is
is hard.
hard. The gi is complicated. Okay. They just want, to be able to smash and grab and again, prop themselves up, of who they are. Oh, I beat this and that and that. I'm a BJJ world champion. No gi. I don't know. To me, I don't know.
So again, what are the pros of training in no-gi besides for getting ready for a real fight?
That's
Do you
it.
think
That's
anything
it. But get ready for a cage fight, a no rules fight, and keeping the laundry down. That's to me. That's all it is. That's
Okay.
all it's for, right? There's the other sport aspect, right? Because everybody now is always a super fight, and they fight in a cage, right? It's like Nerf MMA. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like adults. You know what's that called? Airsoft.
Yeah.
Right? They dress like soldiers. They have guns that cost as much as real guns. They look like real guns, and they shoot foam pellets at each other. Okay? If you're 14, it makes sense. If you're 22, join the army. Right?
Playing with
So
toys.
running around the woods with a fake gun, dressed like a,
It's cosplay.
it's cosplay. But I don't know. That's just me. But I just, no-gi seems to me, it takes the sport backwards a little bit, I think. I like the artistry, the precision, the history of gi. I really do. I'm trained a lot of no-gi over the years, and I still get some rolling in. But I just see that I think people see it as a shortcut. Right?
I think you can shortcut it you can brute force through no-gi.
Yeah. You can use I always say the X factor: size, strength, athleticism, speed. You could use your X factor to excel.
Yeah.
And If it works, it works. Okay, but everything that you're winning with now has a shelf life on it, an expiration date. You're only going to be strong like that for so long. You're going to be fast like that for so long. You're going to be young for only so long, and you're going to be athletic for so long. So at the end of your ride, do you now have to completely relearn jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, you're basically starting off from scratch if you haven't.
So you're starting over. So do you think most people who kind of took that shortcut have it within their ego to start over?
No, they quit.
No. So these are people who are in our world for a certain amount of time, right? So are they completely invested in the jiu-jitsu lineage of learning from someone, making it better, and passing it on? That's what lineage is, right?
Yeah.
If we don't pass this on, what happens to it?
It's gone.
It's gone. It gets diluted. It becomes Taekwondo, right? Everybody, all the jiu-jitsu guys make fun of the karate guys, the McDojos, right?
Yeah.
Because martial arts, karate, sometimes hasn't evolved in centuries, right?
Yeah.
Nothing has really changed in it. Okay? Pressure causes evolution. Is someone who trains for a short amount of time using personal physical attributes, okay, are they part of evolution?
They're the food.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. These are the thoughts that I think about sometimes, and no one usually wants to hear about them, but we're talking about them today. So if no one watches the podcast this week, that's your fault, buddy. This is on you.
I got my pro no-gi takes. We'll bring them out in a second, but
you go. Okay, I'm done. I'm done preaching. You can go pro. You can tell me all about it, and I'm all ears.
Just one more. So if you, let's say, quote unquote, had your way, right? In the ideal Birdman Jiu-Jitsu world,
I do have my way.
All gi all the time.
All gi all the time.
All gi all the time.
Yeah. Right. We had fun with it. Right in the summer, if you had the Origin, you could wear the shorts with the gi jacket. They're the Origin shorts.
Yes.
Right.
The summer uniform.
Memorial Day to Labor Day. If you had the uniform, you could wear the shorts. That's fun. And what no gi classes did we do in Brooklyn?
I think we had one.
The Valley Tudo.
The Valley Tudo, yes.
Yeah. I do one no gi class a month. The first Friday of every month is no gi, like a bring a buddy night, because you can't do bring a buddy when you got gis on.
Right.
So it just makes it easier. And what do? Valley Tudo. We do awareness of body position, mostly your face, while grappling.
To stay away from
think
stress.
about, can we get punched and or kneed in the face from where we are? Right?
Yeah.
So it's a training tool to be more aware of where your head and face are in danger when you're grappling. Right? So once a month I teach people, like, hey, just be aware, when you're grappling, where your head goes and where your head shouldn't go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember those classes. I still think about it when I roll. Can
right?
this person punch me from here? Can this person knee me from here?
You learn quick, like shit. Especially when Derek would pepper you with that glove. He'd punch you like 1,000 times in the room.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't stop because
you don't move.
If you don't move, he's not going to stop hitting you.
He would sit in half guard and he'd just punch you.
Yeah. Right? If you're just going to sit there and take it, is that his fault or your fault?
That's it. Yep.
That's your fault, right? He did it right.
That's right.
Most people hit you twice. Okay, now you know you can get hit there. No, he's like ding, 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 ding. Until you moved, he didn't hit you hard. He
reminded you.
He just let you know the whole time. And some people would sit there for 4 minutes.
And just take it.
They're punching his stomach for 4 minutes straight. And he's just kind of looking around at the clock and he's not, you're not going to move. I'm not going to stop punching you.
Right.
Does that sound like how a real fight might happen? So it's more realistic that you're not wearing that you're wearing a bathing suit, right? That makes the fight more realistic. But you're still gonna let this guy punch you 1,000 times in 4 minutes. I don't know.
Vale Tudo.
Vale Tudo, right?
Yes.
Teach people those two things: gi jiu-jitsu and Vale Tudo. You don't wear the gi in Vale Tudo, but you become more aware of what could be in danger, when you're working in the gi. And also, I think Vale Tudo, to me, is a more sensible thing than like a self-defense class.
Because it directly incorporates what you're learning from jiu-jitsu.
Well, you know my view on self-defense.
Get a gun?
There's no such thing as self-defense. You either know how to fight or you don't know how to fight. So Vale Tudo is fighting. So you're getting a little more knowledge of how to fight.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
The more we protect our head, the longer the fight's going to last.
For sure. Okay.
Okay. Point, counterpoint.
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 I think definitely for beginners. No-gi is a trap. Like you said about relying on X Factor, I think the first thing we need to learn in jiu-jitsu, white belt, blue belt, definitely white belt, is learning how to survive. And you'll learn how to survive in no-gi, but you'll learn the wrong lessons. You will. I'll tell you. Like we have a Friday night, not an open mat, but we just do open rounds, and it's generally gets very sweaty. It gets very slippery. Right after 45 minutes of rolling, it's really easy to defend almost any attack because you can just flip and slide. Right.
Yeah.
So for a lower belt, just getting used to yanking your arm out of grips and pushing the other person away with your feet so they can slide across the floor. You could learn some bad habits because you think certain things are proper defenses when they're not.
If it's working here.
Right. Whereas in the gi, it's really hard to defend because of friction. It's really hard to slip out of an arm bar or, something like that.
And a lot of times that's how you hurt yourself.
Trying to yank something out, slip something.
Trying to yank things out, that's usually when you hurt yourself.
The other thing is also from a defensive aspect, you don't have to think about as much. The person can't hold your pants or your shirt to hold you down. You don't got to protect your neck the same way, which is actually a really bad habit that people have because you should be protecting your neck even in no-gi.
Mm-hmm.
But people imagine there's no collar, so there's no collar choke. They forget about the Ezekiel. They forget about guillotines. They forget about, even a forearm to the throat. I've seen people go out from a forearm to the throat.
Yeah.
You got to respect it. And so you definitely learn some bad habits.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think after purple belt, maybe, especially at higher belts, no-gi training can help us tighten the screws a little bit in terms of our body position.
Yeah. I think no-gi should be purple belt now.
Purple belt and up. Yeah, I think
there should be only one bracket. It's advanced in the tournaments. It's an advanced tournament. Tournament.
It's very good for refining your attacks. You don't have as many options because you don't have the collar. You don't have as many options for control because you don't have the gi. And people can slip. So your tolerances have to be tighter. Your movements have to be more precise. The movements, the body, not necessarily placement. Timing.
Also, if you're doing rounds, cardio and endurance, you're going to get more out of the no-gi, I think.
You can't sit still the same way.
It's a lot of movement. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. As an advanced level, it's a great training tool to work with the gi because you're then working with you have a tougher time stalling.
Right.
So it's a little more dynamic. There's a lot more movement in it.
It's almost like working sprints versus working long distance running.
Yeah.
If you're not a serious track competitor, right? Most people are practicing long distance running, right? Average. If someone says they're a runner and they're not in some kind of high level competition, most likely they're putting miles on. They're not doing sprints at the park, right?
Yeah.
You can occasionally do sprints if you're working to get your speed, your mile time up.
Yeah.
but most people are going to do 8, 10, 6, 10 miles, whatever, and that's what makes them a runner. I think that's a good way to think about jiu-jitsu. If your life isn't competing, if you want to compete for a little bit, that's one thing. But if you have a life and jiu-jitsu is not your career, for most people it's not, and you want longevity, then most of your jiu-jitsu should be in the gi with, you can do a little bit of no gi as a supplement to work.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start running tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
And my goal is by summer, I want to run a 10K. Okay. I'm a white belt at running, aren't I?
Yes.
Okay. So should I go out with the intent, okay, I'm going to start off running 5Ks a day, every other day, and I'll supplement every other day by twice a week running sprints in the park?
No.
Is that a recipe for achieving what I want?
No. You start by walking a mile.
Start by walking a mile, right?
The sprints don't come in until much later.
Now, you think white belts and blue belts are biting off more than they can chew by training so much no gi?
If they're doing more no gi than gi, I think they're
even equal amounts. They're splitting it down the middle.
It depends on the culture, but I think what you're doing is you're just. I think as a white belt or a blue belt, no gi maybe is a little bit more like dessert. It could be fun if adding a couple no gi classes helps you keep training. That's great.
Yeah.
But for long-term training, it's going to put more wear and tear on the body, and I don't think the mindset is where it needs to be at white or blue belt to not pick up the bad habits, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, mentally, what does that do to you think? Ego.
Mentally, I think is the biggest difference between gi and no gi. But part of it's the pace, like we talked about. But I think
what does it do to that white belt, the no gi? If they're pursuing a lot of the no gi just to be with everybody else, and do you think that fractures their ego a little bit, and maybe turn some guys away, turn some guys off?
I think it could go either way. I think also sometimes it boosts the ego. Sometimes when if they're a bigger, stronger white belt, maybe they think they're better than they actually are because they're forcing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I think no-gi matches will probably be much more one-sided than in the gi, right? Even a white belt can hold an upper belt for a certain amount of time and fight them off. I think, though, it messes up the pacing of how your decision-making works. I'll give an example for any lower belts. Sometimes I'm rolling with, even a blue belt, and they'll tell me, you set up a trap. You trapped me with something. And I go, what do you mean I trapped you with something? They're like, you faked me out. You put something somewhere. And when I went for it, it was all wrong. And it's funny because when I'm rolling, I'm not thinking about, laying bait and letting them take the trap.
Yeah.
I have a position that to them feels like something familiar, but the position is actually quite different. Maybe I have a grip in a different place.
Yeah.
Or maybe my weight's shifted. And when they feel the position, they're like, I know there's a back take here, or I know there's an arm bar here. And they immediately move because they feel it. And they didn't take all the variables and they get themselves into trouble.
Yeah. Because you know why that happens?
It's just muscle memory, and it's just they're not thinking. They're just going.
They didn't listen to Nikki. What does Nikki say?
What does Nikki say for this?
Nikki says you suck until further notice. Yes. So it's not a trap. It's you just not knowing jiu-jitsu.
That is actually what I tell them.
Yeah, but they don't know. If you think it's a trap, then you gotta study harder because you don't know jiu-jitsu.
I think that is part of the trap we fall into with no-gi. And no-gi, you get into a mode of just feeling and moving. It's very difficult to sit, and the chess match doesn't work the same way because there's no grips. A lot of it's just, it's almost like a prolonged scramble, no-gi, right?
It's all it is.
So when you feel something and you immediately move, sometimes it's not always the right move, right?
Yeah. And it's not always what you think it is.
It's not always what you think it is, right? we talk about your staple pass sometimes. A lot of people, when they feel a shin, they feel like it's half guard, but it's not half guard.
No.
So they automatically, and they can identify it's not half guard, but because the position feels so familiar, they go back into all their half guard sweeps and their guard falls apart, right?
Yeah, they just get worse. It's not a trap.
It's not a trap. It's just you're not reading the situation right.
Yeah, you're just doing the wrong thing. Now,
right.
You tell yourself somebody set a trap and caught you to make yourself feel better.
Right.
Right? But in reality, if you can't recognize that it wasn't a trap, you're even less technical than you think you are. Right?
Yeah.
You're really, if you tell me I set a trap for you and caught you, and I know I didn't, then I really have to second guess your this guy wants to be a blue belt and he's saying this out loud. Right? That just tells me, wow, you know less than I thought you knew. And it's all like a self-serving for the ego. You didn't beat me with technique. You set a tricky trap and you tricked me and you caught me. No, you're a blue belt.
You're going too fast. You're going too fast.
Going too fast. You're not looking at everything. You're assuming you know what's happening. You think you're working in real time. You're not even in the room, really, right? They're not in the room with you. You're going through the motions, and they're like all over the place. But it's your trap. You tricked them, Damoon. They didn't not know what they were doing. You tricked them.
It's something I say, if you're crossing a minefield, probably not a great idea to run. But, when we train no-gi, it's really difficult to not run.
Yeah.
That's just the speed. So,
yeah. A lot of things people do now in jiu-jitsu, they do them fast. And I don't understand. I keep asking students why they're doing things fast, and they can't answer it. I said, I explained this technique. It had 3 steps. Did I ever put like a gauge of speed or time on this? No. Then why are you doing it fast? I don't know.
Drilling should be slow.
Yeah, I'm like, but why did you decide you could go slow, medium, or fast? Why did you decide to do this fast? I'm trying to see if anybody will give me an actual answer. Like, oh, I'm thinking that if you see me doing it fast, you'll think I'm smarter than everybody else and give me a stripe. That's what I'm waiting for someone to say, because I think it's somewhere in there. Or, I did 3 key bumps of cocaine in the car, and I'm just on fire, right? I want to hear a legitimate answer, not, I don't know. Well, you have a choice to make, whether you do something slow or fast. You chose fast. I'm just trying to figure out why you chose fast. Try it sometimes. If somebody's working too fast, just ask them that same scenario. And it's like you just asked them the process of splitting a fucking atom. It's like they're just. That's a pretty intense question for right now. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out why people feel they need to do everything so fast. And like you said in no-gi, it's become almost the norm of everything, right? Doing it fast, doing it fast, doing it fast.
Yeah. You just slip and slide.
Slip and slide. Until I put my shin across your shin.
I'll throw in one last thing as we wrap up about gi versus no gi. I don't know why, but I feel like no gi guys tend to have more skin disease issues.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna answer a question with another question. Okay. And I want people to write in the answer on the comments.
Please. Yes.
Who's stinkier? Gi guys or no gi guys? I want to know. Now, we have exceptions to each side, but in general, who's more stinky? Gi guys or no gi guys? Write it in the bottom. I want responses. If I don't get responses, we're going back to picking on blue belts for every episode. Okay? That's it. The line is drawn in the sand. Who's stinkier? Gi guys or no gi guys? And if you have any stories about no gi guys with the creeping crud and the MRSA and staph and ringworm, impetigo, the creep, everything, all the nasty toe jam these no-gi guys bring on our mats. Tell us a story, please. I love to be entertained, you know, by people who are, you know, they have like, you know,
no-gi horror story.
yeah, you know, you got ringworm so bad they're gonna put you in a medically induced coma or something.
Stories.
What's that?
Or gi horror stories. Who knows?
Give me gi horror stories, right? Yeah, about some kind of funk that people got growing. But yeah, I want to know who's stinkier, gi or no gi, because that's going to be the end result.
All right,
right?
We'll see what people out there got for us.
See what people think, right? You got stories? Tell me a story. Some guy, you know.
The other thing we'll throw out is that we had some good feedback from the narrated roles we did, analyzing roles. If you guys out there want us to take a look, you can email us through YouTube, and we'll take a look at that. We'll get some more of those up as well. Those were pretty fun. I think I got a little whiteboard with some John Madden markers coming up.
Yeah, and I'm willing to throw one of my roles up there.
I'll throw. I was thinking about throwing up some of my roles too.
You know what? I know you and I are going to get together soon. We're going to roll. We're going to film it.
Okay.
And we're going to analyze it.
Okay.
And then people can write in comments, tell us we're full of beans, and then they can critique us. I'm happy with that.
I like it. I like it.
So we can have some fun with that. And if you want your role analyzed, send it in. We'll take your competition role. We'll analyze. We'll try to help you out, get you on the right track, keep you up there on the podium.
Awesome. And just one more time, every first Saturday at Birdman's Wash and Fold down in Vero Beach is going to be the deep dive special clinics.
We're trying for we're not going to have it in
August. You're going to be at September.
Wait, what month is it?
Right now it's June. Right now it's April.
June?
April. We're not going to have it in May.
You scared the heck out of me. June. I'm like, what?
No.
It's April.
First one's coming up in June.
So May, there's none in May.
Got it.
Okay. But starting in June. So June 7th, July 5th. I'll probably do it. August is a tricky month because of vacations and whatnot.
There's going to be the Origin Camp as well. It might be in there.
That's the end of August, so it's not going to interfere with that.
Okay.
It may rub into the September and Labor Day weekend. I don't know. I'll figure out September. I'll post it up. It'll be on Instagram, Facebook, websites. You could call me, text me. We accept carrier pigeons. They fly through all the time.
Awesome.
My cats will get them, bring me the message, and I'll find a way to get it back to you. Your bird.
There we go.
It'll probably be a little dinged up. Won't be able to make it back to you, but hey, sorry, it's a bird.
Very cool.
Anybody wants kitten? I got kittens up for grabs. Good homes.
Five to go.
No cannibals, right? I don't want any cannibals. Any of that weird, freaky stuff you do with animals in the park. None of that shit. All right. None of you cannibals. None of you pagan ritual people in Prospect Park. Not buying it. I know who you are. The pentagram tattoo gives you away every time.
All right.
Yeah, they're good homes. I got some adorable little kittens. They're 3 weeks old. I think we're keeping 2.
Okay.
I'm just putting it out there. So I got 3 up for grabs. Maybe 1 or 2 up for grabs. I think some people are chiming in already that want these guys.
Awesome.
Or whatever they are.
Maybe next time we'll get them on camera. We'll put them out there.
We'll get them on camera. Yeah, I'll wrestle all 5 of them at once and show you show you my no-gi version against cats. My no-gi versus 5 cats.
All right, guys. Awesome. That'll be it for today. We're about out of time. So with that, we'll just say au revoir, goodbye. Catch you guys next time.
Yes.